No motive to sell the house. So now, what's the ticking time bomb? Few things. One, Jerome Powell is trying to increase rates, hoping unemployment increases, because that's what we need. They need the unemployment to increase. It's not moving. It's still 3.7, 3.5, 3.8, 3.9. It's not moving. It's right there. Okay, so either we need unemployment to go up or we need people to run out of money. If people run out of money and they're stressed out, guess what they do? They're going to sell the house. So today, numbers came out saying it's 55% more cheaper to rent than buy. This is the highest we've had ever. It's 55% cheaper to rent than to buy today. This is not a buying season. This is a renting season, okay? This is what Wall Street Journal, many of these other articles we'll talk about. Okay, meanwhile, the economy is growing. The economy is going up. Dow Jones, it's killing it. Based on 7 companies, Magnificent 7. And you know who these Magnificent 7 companies are? NVIDIA, you got these Facebooks, the Amazons, the Apples, these 7 companies that are preventing the company from the market from having a crash. Then while all this stuff is taking place, Powell now is dealing with a war. He's afraid. He wants to raise the rates a quarter, but due to the war that took place in Israel, he doesn't. And then data shows, which is by far the most interesting data to answer your question here, is how much after these 5 situations where we raise the rates multiple times in a span, this being the shortest in the most condensed time frame, how long does it typically save? Is there a formula of when recession comes, if at all? Here's what they realize. Recession usually comes, on average, 11 months after the last month they raise the rates. So what does this mean? If Powell's no longer going to raise the rates, and the last time they raised the rates was September, let's just say, that means recession is going to come when? Not October. So you got October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. August of next year, 3 months before election. That's if it follows the trends of the last 5 times when they raised interest rates. So how did I start off the story? I talked about the doctor that has met 4,000 different patients, and the 420, you're kind of going through this. The problem of everything I just told you could be completely wrong because there's a fifth when the doctor says, I've never seen this before. Right. So we've never seen current climate before for us to be able to put it and say, well, according to this and according to that, we've never had this situation before.
Zillow is now revealing the harsh reality. Homebuyers need to earn $47,000 more than they did in 2020 to afford a home comfortably. That's a huge shift in just 4 years. The income required to buy a home has increased by 80% since 2020, while median incomes have only risen by 23%. The cost of living is far outpacing income growth, and this is clearly unsustainable. Housing costs have also surged dramatically. Home values have jumped by 42.4% over the past 4 years, with the typical U.S. home now worth around $343,000. Some may argue that the housing and stock markets are strong because prices are high, but what if I told you that the reason everything, from goods to stocks to real estate, is increasing in value is because the dollar is losing purchasing power? This is what happens when the currency weakens, and right now, the dollar is becoming significantly weaker. Additionally, buyers now need a $127,000 down payment to afford a typical mortgage. Let me ask, how many people have $127,000 just sitting around? The reality is, very few. A median income household would need to put down 35.4% to afford payments on a typical U.S. home. In only 10 of the 50 biggest U.S. markets can a median income household afford a home with a 20% down payment or less. In fact, 43% of last year's homebuyers relied on gifts from family or friends for their down payments. The housing shortage is another significant factor. With mortgage rates rising, many homeowners are reluctant to give up the lower rates they secured just a few years ago. As a result, the real estate market is slowing down because homes have become too expensive for many buyers. To put things into perspective, as of July this year, a $1 million starter home has become the norm in 237 cities due to the worsening housing shortage. This issue extends beyond just residential real estate. Many of the loans tied to real estate are connected to banks that lack strong liquidity. Commercial real estate, in particular, poses a major risk for banks, putting hundreds of them at risk. If the commercial real estate market crashes, it could create a domino effect, causing banks to fail and pushing the broader economy into a downward spiral. Now, let me play this clip from Patrick Bet-David so you can hear more on this topic. Listen closely.
Is going to come here. Like I told you earlier when we were talking, my bigger fear is a reverse market crash, which Venezuela just went through, which all of a sudden the rates get lowered and Dow and S&P goes. And Dow goes from 33, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, just goes boom.
Is that just the dollar losing its purchasing power?
Yes, exactly. That's what happens. The more we're printing, like, for example, a Michael Jordan card years ago, a BGS 9.5, sold for $78,000. I was like, oh my God, that's crazy. But then all of a sudden, all of these boxes kept entering the marketplace of 1986 Fleer. So guys started buying these things and they were sending more to get graded at Beckett and PSA. The more they got cards graded, that $78,000 card, BGS 9.5, became a $60,000 card, $50,000 card, $40,000 card, $30,000 card. You can probably buy BGS 9.5 today for $20,000, $25,000, okay? So the inventory increases the more we print money. The more you print dollars and it's more accessible, the less it's valued, the less it's worth. So these are some things that's going on today. You sit there and you're like, okay, so does this mean guys are not going to make a lot of money? No. You're going to see the first trillionaire in the next 24 months because none of this is going to affect the guys at the top. None of it. This printing money, every time they print money, the guys at the top make more money. If there's anybody that should be against printing money, it's low and middle income families. If there's anybody that should be against printing money, it's them. If there's anybody that's for printing money, guess who it is? The guys at the top. Why? Because the poor and middle America can't keep money. They spend it. And when they spend it, what do they buy? A product owned by somebody in the S&P 500 or other people who have businesses. Money flows up. They can keep printing money all they want. So when low and middle income families are like, look at these guys, all they care about is themselves. Let that bill pass for $2.7 trillion. You simply look at them and you say, you have no clue how money works. You have no idea how money works. Now, guess what? Let's print $10 trillion. The rich are okay with it. You ain't going to get the rich complaining about printing $10 trillion or $5 trillion. BlackRock's going to be like, all right, cool. We're at $8 to $10 trillion of money in our ETFs, and we're buying up a bunch of different companies. We're buying up all these properties today. Right now, it's going to be nothing. But in the next few years, you have to go through us, and we dictate the market, and we're going to own it all. And what are you going to do about it? You know, these are a lot of different moving parts that is going on to me. And again, for me, the idea of middle America not being able to make the money they need to make to be able to afford a house, send their kids to school, live in a nice place, enjoy some of their dreams, maybe not the biggest ones, but some of their dreams are going to become a reality. Middle America is getting smaller and smaller and smaller every single time we print money.
This is exactly what I mean. A reverse crash where the dollar is essentially going through a kind of currency debasement. It's losing its purchasing power and starting to fall, which is why housing has become so unaffordable. It's getting ridiculous. Food costs are also rising, and I'll get to that in a moment. But another important point to note is that the rich keep getting richer, while the poor continue to get poorer. Let me take you back to May, though I'm sure you've heard this already. I want to bring it up again because it's significant. During the pandemic era, U.S. households accumulated $2.1 trillion in excess savings, but since August 2021, all of that has been wiped out. That's a shocking statistic. These savings have been drained, while consumer debt has skyrocketed to historic highs. At the same time, there's this illusion that the economy is bouncing back, that it's strong. But that's simply not true. Between March 2020 and August 2021, $2.1 trillion in savings was built up thanks to $4 trillion in stimulus. Since then, these savings have been depleted at a rate of $70 billion a month, leading to a negative $72 billion in March 2024. That's right, negative $72 billion. Meanwhile, U.S. credit card debt has jumped by $330 billion, reaching a record $1.1 trillion. And savings rates have dropped from 3.5% in February to just 3.2% in March, the lowest since November 2022. Saving money has become a luxury. On top of that, global food prices have risen 2.1% year-over-year in September, marking the highest increase in 18 months. The United Nations World Food Price Index jumped 3% in September, the largest monthly rise since March 2022. Sugar prices surged 10.4% year-over-year, followed by meat at 4.8% and vegetable oil at 4.6%, hitting its highest level since early 2023. Overall, global food prices are now 21.4% higher than they were in January 2020, making food affordability a growing issue. And yes, all of this plays into a plan by the elites to ensure the poor stay poor. They're systematically wiping out the middle class, and it's nothing new. This pattern has repeated itself through every major recession and collapse. The rich get richer, while the poor get poorer. This is exactly what they want. Now, what's next? You've probably guessed it. They're going to push for CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, digital IDs, and other control mechanisms. Their goal is to wipe out savings and make individuals dependent, offering things like universal basic income, UBI. Maybe $1,600 a month at first, but then reducing it after 6 months or gradually devaluing it. For example, they might start by offering $125 a month, but after a year, it could drop to $50. The idea is to continually erode the value so people become completely reliant on the government, giving them total control over everyone. This is all part of a bigger process, and it's important to understand how serious it is. This is worse than a recession. You need to be aware of what's happening. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more free content. Thanks for watching.